Hi there, students. Welcome. You should be watching what this is. This is the screencast recording of your What is Science notes that you will need to take for this day 6 task. Many of you have probably taken these notes already, but one thing Mrs. Jacobson and myself wanted to go through was to make sure that we were teaching some of these notes to you in case things were confusing. So thankfully you found this presentation. While you're viewing this, I'd like you to do a few things. So number one, you need to make sure you either have this pulled up and are listening to it, or have this pulled up and are viewing it and listening to it. And then in addition, you need to make sure that you have your note sheet pulled up as well. That should be a clickable document on that day 6 Google Hyperdoc, so that you're either filling in the notes online, right, using your computer, or you have printed it off and you're filling them in by hand. But regardless, you either need to be listening to this in the background as you click through slides, or you need to be listening and watching this as you fill in your notes. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started here, so I'm going to click present. So again, this is our What is Science PowerPoint presentation. So clicking right along here, I just want you to quickly pause and think about, in previous classes we've talked about, well, what is science? So take a moment and write down 1 or 2 sentences about what you think science is. All right. So now that we've talked a little bit about what science is, I want to tell you about this word nature of science. You'll often maybe hear Mrs. Jacobson and myself refer to this as the nature of science. Well, what does that mean? All right. Well, to the nature of something just means you're thinking and knowing about it. And when we pair that with science, it means you're thinking and knowing about our natural world. Oftentimes we pair science with the natural world. So the nature of science just means to think and know about our natural world. Another way to describe this would be using logic and reasoning to answer questions about nature. All right. So just to kind of summarize that and put that in a new way, the nature of science will either mean to think and know about the natural world, or to use your logic and reasoning to answer questions that we might have about nature. All right. Oftentimes in science, we'll ask lots of questions, and that's something we'll get in a really good practice of doing. But the nature of science is to try to find those answers to those questions. All right, so what is science exactly? Well, first things first, science is going to use evidence from either our observations and our experiments to answer those questions about the natural world. All right, we can also use inferences, which are logical conclusions based on that information. All right, so looking through this, we need to use evidence, and we can get evidence from 3 sources, it looks like. Right? Our 3 sources we can get evidence from, or we might say the 3 ways science knows, would be our observations, our experiments, and our inferences. And remember, inferences is one that we may not have talked about too much. Inferences are going to be things that you can make a logical conclusion about. For instance, I'll give you an example. Let's say all of my students came to class and we had a test. And all of my students took the test and they all did really bad on it, and let's say they either got D's or F's. One logical conclusion that I might make is they didn't study for it. Now, did I observe them not studying? No. Did I do an experiment where they took another test and didn't study, but then did a test and did study? No. But based on the information I had, I made a logical conclusion that they did not study. All right, so notice I don't have a whole lot of physical hard evidence for that, other than the fact that they did bad, but my logical conclusion is that they probably didn't study. All right. Experiments we'll work into greater depth about, we'll discuss that more often, but just really quick on observations. Remember, your observations are going to be things you're using your 5 senses to understand. So it might be how something feels. It might be how something tastes. It might be what you see. So when we think observations, we think, what are you using your 5 senses to see? Right? And I might pause here and ask you, well, what are those 5 senses? And think about that. All right, so moving right along. Evidence, we're talking about gathering this evidence from those 3 ways that science knows. Well, what exactly is evidence? Well, evidence is going to be data and information, right? It can either be quantitative or qualitative. Notice in the word quantitative, you might see that word quant kind of stand out. And when I hear that word quant, I think of the word quantity, which will often mean numbers. And then the word qualitative, again, I'm seeing a word kind of pop out. That word is qual, and oftentimes that word I link with the word quality, which will often mean not numbers, or it might mean a description about something. There's benefits to each, And they're each going to tell us different things. For instance, quantitative things are going to tell us more hardline information, such as it is 3 feet tall, it is 47 pounds, it is 20 degrees Celsius. It's going to tell us things about it that's not using our senses. Whereas our qualitative evidence is going to give us more descriptions about it, right? It's a hazy green color with rough spots, all right? More of a description of what it looks like. They're both beneficial though, and they tell us different things. All right, so one way that science knows was through our observations. So to talk about this a little bit, when we make observations with our 5 senses, again, sight, taste, touch, hearing, and smell, we want to make sure we're clear and specific. All right, we'll oftentimes be fooled in science, and we want to make sure that whatever we're observing is really there and we're not being tricked. A great example that I always give is we used to do a lab at the beginning of the year where students would reach inside a brown paper sack and have to use their observations to make a conclusion about what that object was. And we would put these little black and white cookies in there, and they smelled really good, and oftentimes students always came to the conclusion that it was an Oreo. However, if they were more clear and specific, they would notice that when they felt it, they didn't feel the words Oreo on it, and instead it was a Dunkaroo. And that was to help teach our students that when we observe things, we have to make sure we're as clear and specific as we can, because often we'll be confused by our bias, right? Most students usually, when they see a black and white cookie or they smell that, they think Oreo. But we can't be confused. We have to be clear and specific in those observations. So to try this, one activity we did in class was we tried this bias activity, and I'll encourage you to go through this as well. But I'm going to ask you to view an image, and then based on what you view, I need you to draw the other part of that image, all right? And then we'll discuss what it actually looks like. So this is the image I'm going to show you, and I would like you to, if this image was cut off right here, and I didn't show you the rest of this right here, I want you to quick draw a picture. What would this look like? Right, what would the rest of this image look like? So draw that really quick. Now, in class, we had a different group draw with this image, and I said, what if I cut the image off right here? And I need you to draw the rest of this left side of the image. What would you draw? Okay, and what students found was that they drew separate things based on what they saw, when the actual image should look like this. So you'll notice that based on what I show you, I can almost fool you or give you bias as to what you're going to draw. If you saw the bridge image, you are biased to continue drawing what? A bridge, right? And if I showed you the ship image, you are biased to continue to draw what? The ships. When in all actuality, was it either one? No, it's both. Right? So we have to make sure we're making observations that we're clear and specific about what we're seeing. This is very tricky, right? It's not meant to be either one. It's supposed to be both kind of together. They call these gestalt images. They kind of switch on you. But in class, it's just to help us understand that we need to be clear and specific. All right, a few other sources of our biases can be our expectations and what we think is going to arrive. Remember the Oreo example. What do I think it's going to be? And then our previous experiences. So what's actually happened to me in the past. Again, with the Oreos, we've probably all eaten Oreos and seen Oreos. So when you see something that looks like one, you're going to instantly think, ooh, Oreo. And we can't be fooled by that. All right, I always like this image. You can go ahead and read it here, but what it's showing is the scientists working with the dolphins, and they can't understand what they're saying because they're assuming they're going to speak English. Remember, they're going to speak English. But the dolphins are actually speaking what? Speaking what language? Spanish. So that's another instance of bias. All right. I'm curious how many of you guys have actually heard of the scientific method. Oftentimes, Mrs. Jacobson said that they teach this in 5th grade and they kind of go through it. But what we want to understand is that traditionally this is what it looks like. But not always is the scientific method this simple, right? Notice how it's very linear. We're going to start with this question and work our way down with research, the hypothesis, in this kind of succinct step-by-step method. But it's not always that simple. When we do science in class, we will often do a lot of things differently and in different orders. For instance, we might start with a test and then make a prediction, and we have to test it again and use our observations. So we're going to go back and forth in this kind of method to where there is no really linear step-by-step method. It's moving back and forth. The arrows go both ways. It's a little bit more messy. All right. So we are now going to talk about the parts of an experiment. And right now I'm going to pause this because I think my video is going to run out. So if you made it this far, go ahead and just pause, take a little break, and we'll come back in a second.